Today we are working on Fundations Lesson 2-2-3. Our goal is that we are learning to read closed syllable words and glued sounds fluently in a story. When we talk about reading fluently, we mean that we want to be reading in a way that makes it easy for the listener to understand what is happening in a story. We want to make sure that we're stopping at periods and pausing at commas. We also want to make sure that we're breaking our sentences into phrases and not rushing through our sentences or reading it in a choppy way. We also want to make sure that we are familiar with all the words that we are reading so that we can say them smoothly. Let's take a look at an example of this. This is a Foundation story that has a lot of glued syllable words and closed syllable words in it. You may have remembered from previous Foundations lessons last year that sometimes we can scoop phrases in a story to help us see how we should be reading it fluently. Let's take a look. When I read words that are scooped, I'm going to put all of the words in that phrase together to make my reading sound more smooth. So it might sound something like this. Skip sat up in bed. He had to get up. He had a big quiz in math. And he did not want to miss the bus. He had not slept well. He felt sick, and his skin was hot. He left his quilt on the bed and went to get his mom. Mom had a shock when Skip came in. He had a red rash on his neck. Back to bed, Skip, said Mom. Skip went back and got in bed. Mom came in to check his temp. He was hot. You notice how I stop at periods, I pause with my commas, I chunk my words into phrases to read them together. This is what fluent reading is supposed to sound like. It's supposed to sound smooth. It's not so fast that it's hard for the reader to understand what you're saying. And it's not so slow and choppy where it's hard to get a complete idea of what the sentence is saying. Today, for your lesson, you are going to practice reading the same story fluently. After you've practiced reading that story, you're going to record yourself on Flipgrid. And you don't have to read the entire story on Flipgrid. Instead, you're going to either read part 1 of the story, the first half, or part 2 of the story, which is the second half. After you record yourself on Flipgrid, I want you to listen to yourself on Flipgrid so you can really hear what it sounds like when you are reading. Then you're going to leave a comment on your own video about how you think you did with your fluency. You can say things like, I think I stopped at periods and paused at commas. I knew the words that I was reading. You could say, I read a little too fast or too slow, making it hard for someone else to listen to me read. You could say, I could have practiced reading more so that I would know the words that I'm reading more fluently. Or you could say, I didn't really give my best effort and I should try doing this again. Good luck. Make sure that you take your time, that you practice your reading, and that you give your best effort.